Parents refused to pay for my college, saying I wasn't college material, but sold their home to fund my sister's wedding. Years later, they showed up at my penthouse, begging me for $150,000. I smiled and said, I don't loan money on principle, remember? I grew up in a small town in a modest two-story house, with my parents and my older sister, Grace. She was just 2 years older than me, but sometimes it felt like we lived in completely different worlds. My father owned a small cafe that brought in enough to keep us comfortable, while Mom stayed home and occasionally helped out at the restaurant. It wasn't a luxurious life, but we got by. Well, most of us did. Grace, sweetheart, that presentation was absolutely brilliant. I remember Mom gushing one evening after a school event. You're going to go so far in life. You're just so talented. I stood in the doorway, still holding my own certificate from the science fair, but nobody seemed to notice. It was always like that. Grace was the star and I was the shadow. That was the pattern of my childhood. Grace got the latest iPhone, while I inherited her old one with the cracked screen. She wore designer clothes, while I got her hand-me-downs. Every family gathering became a showcase of Grace's achievements. Did you hear about Grace's SE scores? Dad would proudly tell our relatives. Top percentile, and she's president of the debate club too. I learned to fade into the background during these conversations. Knowing my straight B's, and position as treasurer of the environmental club, wouldn't merit a mention. It wasn't that I was doing poorly, I was doing fine. But in our house, fine might as well have been failure. Stella, Mom said to me once, when I was helping her fold laundry, you should really think about practical career options. Maybe something in retail or service. There's nothing wrong with honest work. The word stung, but I'd gotten used to the constant reminders of my perceived limitations. What I hadn't gotten used to was the way they seemed to actively work to reinforce them. Looking back now, I realize those early years were setting the stage for everything that would follow. The constant comparisons, the subtle put-downs, the clear message that I was somehow less than my sister, it all left marks that would take years to heal. But sometimes, the deepest wounds become the strongest motivations. And my family had no idea how their treatment would eventually come back to shape all our futures. I still remember the day Grace got her college acceptance letter. The whole house erupted in celebration. Mom made her favorite dinner, Dad brought home an expensive bottle of wine, and they spent the entire evening making plans for her future. Our brilliant girl is going to one of the best colleges in the city. Mom couldn't stop beaming. We've been saving for this moment since you were born, sweetheart. I sat quietly at the dinner table, pushing food around my plate, trying to imagine what my own celebration would be like in 2 years. I should have known better. When my turn came, the response couldn't have been more different. I'd worked hard to maintain good grades, joined clubs, and even took extra courses to boost my college applications. But none of that seemed to matter. College? Mom's laugh was sharp and dismissive when I brought up the subject. Stella, be realistic, we just can't afford to send you. Besides, you're not really college material. But what about all the money you saved for Grace? I asked, my voice shaking. Dad cleared his throat uncomfortably. That was different. Grace had a clear path, exceptional grades. Well, you're more suited for practical work. Speaking of which, I could use another waitress at the cafe. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I could work while studying, I pleaded. Please, just help me get started. We could borrow from relatives or take out a loan. I'll pay back every penny with interest. I'll even get it in writing with a lawyer. We never borrow from anyone in principle, Mom said